I'm trying to ask permission, but I don't know. Oh, you're doing it.
I am recording it now.
Okay.
By the way, for the record, so you guys, as we're recording this, if any of you have seen my quick take on News 5 Channel 5 yesterday, that actually was a stunt double. That was not me. So,
Right.
anyways, all right, enough fun. Anyone else? Let's see. We've got another 423 number. Is that Daniel potentially?
If
I'm
it's
not sure.
552, it's me. I'm having computer
It's
issues, so I had to call in.
Oh,
it's
okay. 52.
Daniela.
Daniela. Okay, Daniela, you're on the
Yes,
call.
sir.
All right. So, Daniela, is there anything you're struggling with that maybe we can help and figure out what would be better for you, or kind of coach you on?
Well, to be honest, I'm still waiting for my physical license to finish out my contract. So I don't know if there's really anything that we can do to expedite that process.
Okay.
But so
Okay. So, yeah, just jump in if there's anything as we're going through some of this. If there's anything that you feel like would be helpful, let me know. So, we'll cover time management first, and we'll talk through some of that. So one of the, and I'm going to throw up my calendar on. Give me just a second here. So, all right. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. All right, so hopefully you guys can see what's on my screen. So here's I live by my Google Calendar. I've got everything that syncs to it. And what I want to show you guys real quick is on the left side, I've created a second calendar. This was my time management calendar that I put together when I was actively in the field. My challenge when I was in the field is I also run a financial planning firm. And so there were times when I wanted to do advanced market stuff, and there was times when I needed to do, traditional symmetry mortgage protection leads. And then there was time that I needed to do underwriting and applications and staying up with recruiting and all the, then there's my family, and then there's gym time, and there's all the other stuff that that needs to go into the calendar. Now, you guys' calendar might look very different than mine, and that's fine. But what I'm going to suggest each one of you do is start with a blank calendar and plug in all of the things that are vitally important to you. And when I say vitally important, I would prioritize, if you guys haven't read The One Thing, I would suggest reading The One Thing. It will help with time blocking. It will help with kind of prioritizing what's truly important. In our line of work, if you just look at symmetry and what's highly productive when it comes to symmetry, there's really only three main things that drives revenue: phone, being on the phone, being in front of clients, and then the second thing is kind of a combination. It's recruiting, growing an agency, or following up with applications that are being submitted, making sure you're tracking and spending time doing those. So what I did, and what I would encourage you guys to do, is literally block out on a separate calendar. You don't want to put this on your main calendar, but block out on a new calendar. All you got to do is go to Google, hit create, and it will create a sub calendar, and block out time for symmetry calls. Block out time for the Monday morning call. Block out time for if you want to go to the gym. Block out time if you're, for our family, Wednesday evening is family night. I don't ever schedule meetings on Wednesday evening, ever. It's a cardinal sin. Okay. It'd have to be a huge case, and I'd have to get permission, because that's just, my kids look forward to it. So blocking out time on the calendar, what it does is, when you're phoning, I would tell you to have this calendar in front of you. so that you know that you can tell the client, hey, Bob, looks like I'm going to be in your area Wednesday at 2:30. It's like, what you can tell the client as far as when you have slots available. Now, my slots might not look like what you have. I always scheduled an hour and a half time slot for a client, because if I was driving in between, I wanted 30 minutes. So I gave myself an hour, and then I had 30 minutes in order to get to the next meeting. Now, you might need to adjust that, change it. Again, every county's different. If you're driving across the world to get to a meeting, you'll have to block out travel time. But I would do the same thing on my other so if I pull in my normal calendar, which is the one that all my meetings go into, you can see I've got my RingCentral. This is my Monday morning meeting. It's blocked out. Technically, I have some other busy slots here. If I wanted to feather in a meeting, I could feather one in here. I mean, I could see time slots that I could put stuff in to match my normal calendar. Basically overlays the two so that I know when to plug things in. Now, work with me on this, because my weekly time allocation chart now is, my time itself is geared around the agency, and my weekly time allocation chart was geared around production. So these aren't going to match completely, but you can see, I mean, I could notice if I was doing production that Thursday next week, I've got 3 time slots. So I could schedule a couple here. I could feather 1 or 2 in here. I wouldn't want to do this one because I got family night, but I could do 2 meetings here. I could do one right after the call. I could have a quick interview and do another one after the call. So when I'm calling and scheduling things in, I know what to expect because I've already blocked out and allocated time. Okay. You got to control your calendar. You can't let your calendar control you. So Alicia, I would suggest, for instance, in your situation, you need to go through and block out on your calendar when you can't work. You need to block out when you're going to be taking care of the kids. When are you going to be at your normal day job? When are you going to be, so that you can see, I only have 8 hours a week or whatever it is, or I have, Saturday that I can work or whatever it is, so that when I'm talking to a client, I'm more confident about dictating when I can and can't. And you're less likely to have the client say, well, the only day, similar to what Elazar said, well, the only day I can work is Friday. Well, then I can't meet with you because my Friday's blocked out. And if this is important to you, we're going to find another time. I am going to be in your area Thursday. You're controlling the conversation at that point because it's your calendar. Don't let the client control you in your time. You're the one that needs to be in control of the time. But you can't do that unless you have everything laid out as far as what you're wanting to do, okay? So, and you'll notice I've got other things in here, and that's what I do want you to see is I've got underwriting. I always like to, when you're a full producing, I always advise agents to make sure that you block out time, an hour, several times a week, to follow up with applications, to follow up with Jen in Slack, to make sure you're updating her on items that need to be taken care of, to make sure that you're updating the clients. I had a client follow-up time that was 30 minutes once a week. And that during that 30 minutes, the only thing I would do is shoot text messages to clients. Hey, your stuff is moving forward. Here's what's going on here. Here's what's going on there. It's just a once a week time that I scheduled to reach out and make sure that we had everything kind of moving forward. If you're not following up with your clients, they're going to have some fall off. I mean, people want to hear that you're communicating with them. So step 1 in all of this, dealing with time management, step 1 is going to be going into Google, creating a new calendar, and just spend 30 minutes just blocking out time. Block out time that you're going to read. Block out time you're going to study. It's a habit of mine. I study the Bible every morning. So I block that out. If it's not on my calendar, I don't do it. I mean, it's just the way it is. Block out your gym time, block out your family time, block out times you're just not going to work. You're not willing to work during those specific times. and then start filling that in based on your weekly time allocation. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. Any question? I want to make sure that number one, that kind of helps with, because I know that came up. Brian, you brought it up. Alicia, you brought it up. Any questions that you guys have on kind of utilizing the Google Calendar to help allocate time for you? Okay, the only other thing I would strongly suggest you guys put into your time allocation, make sure you're allocating time for bettering yourself. Everyone, as you guys get associated with some of the conferences, as you guys get associated to some of the additional leaders in Symmetry, you're going to find that there's a common theme. Every single person that is doing Symmetry at a very high level are spending a significant amount of time bettering themselves. Whether it's through books, whether it's through peer-to-peer mentoring, whether it's being mentored, whether it's studying product guide stuff, whether it's tweaking, role playing, tweaking their phone script, whatever it is, they're constantly bettering themselves, because the mindset, what you think, and this is going to go into some of that emotion stuff that was brought up. Your mindset dictates how you interpret what is being done to you. And if your mindset is focused on the negative or the potential downside of something, then your mind automatically, it's like a reflex. It's like a defensive reflex mechanism. Your mind automatically interprets that as negative and gives you a negative response. So, any questions on the time allocation? I'm going to go into a couple other items that were brought up. Elazar, I would say on your counties, and I'll just say this for the whole team. I think you were in the conference that talked about this. Were you in? You were in Jimmy, the one that Jimmy and I did at conference, right? The breakout session.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll say this for the rest of the team. And this blew my mind when I was hearing this at conference. This is probably one of the smartest things I've ever heard as it relates to managing your meetings and where you're going. There's an app called Route for Me, ROUTE, the number 4 me. I don't think it costs anything, does it, Elazar? It's free.
No, it's free. Yeah,
it's free.
Definitely free.
So, and you'll probably know more on how, and you can probably help some of your team members as well kind of work with this. But what Jimmy said that he would do is he would plug in, he would upload all of, you guys are going to have lots of people that you call that you're not going to be able to get a hold of. And what he would do is he would upload all of those individuals into this app. They basically have pinpoints all over the place where these people are. And then he would plot the meetings that he was going to that day. So on the screen, it would move from point A to point B to C to D back to F and then back home. And the other dots on the Route for Me app were all of his door knocks or the people that he hadn't gotten resolution on. So instead of looking at a stack of leads saying, hey, I got to go door knock all these people, it was something he did in between meetings. So Route A to Route B, you've got 4 people on your route. You're 30 minutes ahead of schedule. Go knock on 4 doors and say, hey, I haven't been able to reach you. I'm just trying to get some resolution on the lead. Has anyone reached out to you? And you can go through the whole door knocking process. It's not complicated. It's actually, I would say, Elazar, you would know more than I do on this. It's probably easier to schedule a meeting and on a door knock than it is on the phone.
Yeah, because I mean, they can't just hang up and really close the door in front of me, and they're just pretty respectful about it, and I get all the information.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a guy come to my door the other day. It was so funny, and I always analyze this stuff. It was the smartest thing ever. I was thinking about recruiting him. He came to my door. He literally was driving around in his beat up truck, stopped at the edge of my curb, walked up, rang the doorbell, had a pad in his hand, and he said, "Yeah, I'm just going around doing a quick survey on the air quality in your home. Do you guys own this home?" Like, just went straight into it. Just, do you guys own your home? And what am I going to do? Like, get away. I don't want to talk to you. I mean, what am I going to say? I'm going to just talk to him, right? I mean, I don't want to be an ass. Okay. And so he's like, yeah, so now do you guys have any animals? Do you guys struggle with any allergies? No. Okay. He just went straight into it. Just knocked it out. And the funny part is, at the end, he tore off the edge. He said, "Okay, great. You're going to be entered into a drawing. Go ahead and call into this number, and that's all I need. I just needed about 30 seconds of your time." And he was done. And I sat there thinking, man, that's so smart. If we could incorporate something of that nature, or at least if you guys can incorporate door knocking into on the way as you go to some of your meetings, just following up, just checking in, checking it off your list, going to take 30 seconds of your time, that whole mindset. The guy was super good. So definitely use, hey, Jeffrey, glad you're on the call. We're talking about an app that's called Route for Me, ROUTE, the number 4, and then me. It is a way to kind of plug dots into all of your leads to be able to know who you're going to door knock in between meetings, moving from point A to point B. So any, hopefully, and my goal there was to kind of help Elazar on his struggle with county to county. I think the Route for Me tends to help that particular situation. Any questions on that, or any thoughts on that? Are you guys incorporating door knocking into your process? Everyone's so quiet.
I actually have a couple times, especially, of course, I live in Washington County, and some of especially the older leads, I've recognized some of the names. At this point, nothing has come out of it, but I have done, some of that just right there in my neighborhood, kind of.
Yeah, if I would say, and I don't know the actual stats around door knocks. I mean, again, once Elazar gets back, he might have a little bit more knowledge on that. But it seems like out of every maybe 5 to 10 door knocks, you'll get a good solid meeting and an application potentially.
Right.
So it's a matter of how much of it are you doing. If you're just doing a couple here and there, you probably won't see any consistency to it. But if you add it into your normal routine, to where if you've called them, let's say you've called them 3, 4, 5 times, you can't get a hold of them 6 times, you're going to put them in the door knock pile and load them into the app, and you're going to go door knock them. It's just part of the process. You probably could feather
I haven't
in
been
10,
consistent with it.
Yeah, if you feather in 10, 15 door knocks a week, you're going to get a couple meetings off of them.
Right.
And probably more likely to take applications just because they've seen you already. They know who you are, rather than a phone call. So, all right. Any other questions on that? Hopefully this is helpful, guys. I want this to be super helpful on areas that you guys are having the hardest struggles with. Jeffrey, you didn't get on when we were first on. Do you have anything that you're struggling with that you want to add into the mix so that we can make this relevant for everyone? Jeffrey. I'll take that as a no. Okay. So Alicia, you were talking about, one of the things you brought up was the diversity between clients and how different each client is, and the fact that it sounded like you said that they were unable to be covered. Do you want to kind of help me understand what the struggle there was, what the challenge was, and then also?
Well, first of all, the one client that I'm particularly talking about, he he was 43 years old, a bit overweight for his height, and he was disabled. He had a car accident, and back issues disabled him from working. And his wife was very overweight for her height and just diabetic. Both of them were diabetic, high blood pressure, and he was on about 14 to 20 prescriptions that he told me about. And he didn't tell me this on the phone. He told me this in home.
Okay.
And then it was just like that. They didn't really have the financial means because they're both disabled, and the income level was not what they had to come into to put towards anything. I mean, they had to refinance just to try and stay in their house. So it just seemed like to me right off the bat, I mean, he said, I was interested because whenever I got disabled, I wish I would have had care in place.
Yeah.
But he couldn't, it was almost like he couldn't have anything. They couldn't pay extra out, it seemed. They also had some other family issues going on to where they were paying for their son for something else that was a medical issue for them. So it just seemed like there was a lot going out, but not a lot that they had to contribute to something like this.
Yeah. So every situation is obviously a little bit different. What I will tell you from a psychological level, everyone funds money towards stuff that's important to them. Like I guarantee, I don't know these people, okay, but I'm gonna put them in a box, and I'm gonna guess, okay. They probably had cable television.
Mm-hmm.
They probably had cell phones.
I don't know that one.
They probably spent money on things that, again, the average American wastes money. So the challenge is, yeah, they may have more money going out than coming in. That could very well be the case, and that probably is the case. But if you connect the why is this important? This could be more important than having that extra premium package on your cable. Because if something happens tomorrow, how are you going to be able to have your wife stay in the home? Like, let's level about this for a second. You're both you're disabled. If you pass away, your wife no longer gets the disability. Like, let's level on what happens with Social Security income. Let's level with what happens in real life. Can your wife support the household expenses without you? And when you start to, while they may not be able to, at first glance afford it, it actually becomes, is it important? Because if it's important, they'll figure out how to navigate the numbers. I've had clients that have reduced expenses on just, hey, we're not going to go buy as much coffee, or hey, we're not going to, I'm going to cut back on my smoking, or hey, I'm just going to cut back on my cable bill. I mean, people have done that because it's important to them. Now, if it's not important to them, you're not going to convince anyone to do anything.
Right.
And in a situation like that, where the guy is early 40s, overweight, has a ton of medical issues, there might not be a ton of things that we can have for him, but it would be beneficial for them to have a couple months of mortgage payments to be able to get through that time period. So that critical or equity protection plan, I mean, even if they got, a guaranteed issued or an accidental death policy, I forget what, Elazar, what's the age limits on AIG guaranteed issued?
It's 50 to 85.
So for a 43-year-old with massive problems, it'd be accidental then for him.
Yeah, accidental. 45-year-old is Mutual of Omaha is the only one that I know, or I guess UHL too, right? They're the youngest that goes 45.
Oh yeah, and then you probably could have done the accidental with UHL because it has a small death benefit, like $500, but not a lot.
Or Gerber, $5.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not an ideal plan, but I think those. I mean, what happens if he dies from an accident? You could get $100,000 of accidental for $15, $20 a month. I mean, that's cheap. So the point of it is the point I'm trying to make, Alicia, is just make sure you're focusing on the why for a client, because that is what's going to dictate whether a person's going to move forward, especially when it might be painful from a cost standpoint.
Okay.
And that's why it's so important at the very beginning of the meeting to just kind of sit on the why. Why did you fill this out? Why would that be important to you? Why is that important to you? Like, sit on that why for a while so that you kind of get a good idea of it. And then what I always used to do is I regurgitated it back to him. So if I understand you correctly, you're concerned about X, Y, and Z, and that if you weren't here tomorrow, Bob, your wife wouldn't be able to make the payment on the home. So it sounds like it'd be really valuable if we could solve that particular concern. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah, absolutely.
That
Okay.
If you can sit on that for 5-6 minutes in the beginning to get it, I'd rather you spend time there resurrecting their why. And then what's really helpful is if you then apply your why to theirs. Let me tell you why this is so important to me. And I don't know if you have a why, or if you have a grandparent that passed away without coverage, or a parent or a cousin or a nephew, or if you need to, you can borrow a client that we have. I know Chan Davis had a death claim on a term policy for a guy that was young, healthy. He's in his 30s. The guy got electrocuted at work like 4 months after Chan took the policy, and National Life Group is paying the claim. So you got to have a story, and you can borrow someone else's story. You got to have a story that once they understand their why, then you tell them, let me tell you why this is so valuable to me. Because people buy on logic. Sorry, they buy on emotions. The logic pays for it. So the emotions is what's going to stir the need. And then you have to make sure it makes sense from a budget standpoint. So they buy on emotions. Logic is just the side that pays for it. Is that helpful?
Yes, very.
Okay. All right. So we it looks like, man, I don't even need an hour. We covered all the concerns that everyone's having in 35 minutes. Y'all can go dial now. No, just kidding. Any other questions, guys? This is your time. Any other questions? No other questions?
Mike, can you hear me?
I can. I could. I think you muted yourself.
You there?
I'm there. Yeah, I got you now.
Hey, man. Still trying to get the screen part of it worked out, but I see you. Can't see me. No big deal. Last night, I was in a home. These were young couple, 27 and I think 31. I'm going by memory. But anyway, $136,000 mortgage. Before I even pulled out any numbers, basically I had done my homework and basically get a quote for the full 136, but also made sure that I did something with more of an equity protection. So that's kind of I shared that concept. Hey, I'm here today. Typically what happens is, we work towards full mortgage protection. Here's the difference. Full mortgage protection or payoff is just what it says. However, typically what we do is work towards that goal and work towards a concept called equity protection. Went into my pitch, made a lot of sense to him. He comes back at me and says, hey, that's great, but I really want 200. He was stuck on $250,000 of coverage. I said, okay, no big deal. Showed him that. And obviously the premium was a little bit too high for them right then. So here I've got, this equity protection, which the premium was, $56. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something really, because they gave me a figure of 100. It was half of what they wanted. And once I basically showed him the figure for 250, because he was animate about, I want to see what 250 can do. It was about 136 because he wanted whole life with Foresters. So it was about 133 and some change. At that point, he said, well, I got to think about it. And basically, I found that at that point, I'd kind of lost the control of the sale, and sure enough, walked out of there without an application. Could have easily done the 2 applications for $56.
Okay.
Any suggestions on that? I mean, it showed him the equity protection because, that was something that fit within their budget. He gave me that figure, and I knew that was going to fit in their budget.
Yeah, probably. If I were to, again, I'm gonna make some assumptions here. So this is some coaching, one-on-one coaching. So if I were to assume, and I was a fly on the wall, I probably could guess that that you probably didn't dive very deeply into why the 250,000 was important to him. Is that an accurate statement?
Absolutely. I did not do any fact finding around that. So, yep. I mean, clearly there was something that was important about the 250 figure.
So, I mean, anytime I go into, there's probably 2 suggestions that I would that I would mention. Number one, when you're setting up the first 5 minutes, when I sit down at a table, the very first 5 minutes of the conversation is me laying out the expectation of what we are going to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
So here's how we met. Here's why I'm here. Here's, you filled out the lead. This is why I'm here. I'm handing that lead to them. Why is that important to you? They're going to kind of give me some of that why. I'm going to sit on that for some time, and then I'm going to go through expectations. Okay, here's what I want to accomplish today. People want you to tell them what to do. As long as they trust you, as long as you're respectful, they want someone to guide them. So I'd walk in and I'll tell the client, so this is what I want to accomplish. Number one, I want to make sure that I understand exactly what you're trying to do today. But number two, I want to make sure I'm educating you on your best options. If all we do today is educate you, I'll be happy. Okay. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not here to pull out today, if you buy it in $19.99, you get 2 of them. And they always laugh when I say that because they know what I'm talking about. And then I'm very candid. Now, once I educate you on what the best solutions are, I will help you apply. I will help you apply for what your best solution is today, because I want to make sure you guys are taken care of. Is that fair? Before I go into anything about my presentation and what I think is best, I've got to get their buy-in, okay, as to what I'm going to do. And no one says, no, I don't. I mean, every once in a while they'll say, well, honestly, Mike, I probably just want to hear what my options are, and I'm gonna make sure that it fits, and I'll think, like, every once in a while you'll get someone to say that at the beginning. I'd rather have that at the beginning, knowing it, because I'm not gonna fight hard at the end. So most of the time people are gonna say, okay, that's fine. I know the expectations. So then as I move through as I start into the presentation, one of the key components, and I'm almost certain you never brought this up, okay? And this is the number one way to combat, I want to think about it, is to talk about it in the very beginning. And what I always used to say is, hey guys, as we get into this and we get to the part of, budget, and again, I don't know what you guys' budget are and what you're thinking about doing today, but inevitably what happens is people will make comments like, I want to think about it. I want to pray on it. I want to sleep on it. That comes up near the end of the conversation. So I've been doing this long enough to know that doesn't actually mean what you're saying it means. And here's what I mean by that. When you say, I want to think about it, so I'm already talking about it. And this is 30, 40 minutes later, they're going to address this after a presentation. So I'm going to say, when you say you want to think about it, are you saying that the budget's too high? Or are you saying that you don't even know that you want to do anything at all? And you want to think about whether or not this is even important to you? Because there's a difference. And if you mean the price isn't the right fit, then all I need you to do is do me a favor. Don't say you want to think about it. Tell me, Mike, that this is not in my budget. 135 is a little bit out of my budget range. And if that's the case, then we can work on making sure it gets into your budget so that you guys can be covered today. Is that fair? So if you spend time in the beginning setting expectations, addressing that concern in the very beginning, it'd be really weird for them 30 minutes later to say, hey, Jeffrey, I want to think about it. It doesn't make sense because you already told them, you're going to say that. I need to know what it means. And so your response back, if they say that, is, well, we talked about this earlier. What do you mean by that? I mean, are you saying you don't know if this is even important? Or are you saying that the budget's a little bit out of range, and so we need to renegotiate kind of what it is that makes sense to fit in your budget? I guarantee you, if you would have done those, if you do those two things, if you spend some time in the beginning, and then when someone has a specific thing that they're fixated on, $250,000. If they're fixated on $250,000, then you need to spend some time understanding why that's important to them. Why 250? Where are you getting that number? What problem is that solving for you? Why is that important? Is that helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. So what have you gone into, again, before I even pulled out my computer or anything, I said, I tried to say, hey, and I basically showed them kind of your illustration that, I had the numbers, I had what the house was worth, and, what they had the mortgage for. So I did that whole thing. And they said, yeah, completely makes sense to protect that equity if number was about 165,000 in 10 years, give or take. And they said, absolutely. And then I said, okay, based on what I just shared with you, what is a comfortable amount on a monthly basis based on the new baby? They had a 1-year-old, based on the new car you just got. And what the objection was at the end with Chris, the husband, was, well, I have to look at our budget. I don't know where we are with our budget. So it didn't spend any time. He gave me a figure. She gave me a figure of $100. She obviously did the bills. Okay. Well, no, that was the other call. I apologize. But basically, she spoke up because I asked. I said, Ashley, Chris is no longer here. What is a comfortable time frame for you? Do you feel to get back to speed? Shared a story with my mom. Did the whole thing. Shared the story with my mom, and said, hey, it took me longer than it took my brother. And everybody grieves differently. But what do you feel for you? She gave me 2 years. And I knew easily within their age, 2 years. And I said, okay. And with that being said, what is a budget? And that's what she gave me, the $100. I came in half. And that's where he said, well, let's then show me what 250 does.
Yeah. So, and not every meeting you're going to be able to lock it down, but what I probably would have, and I might have lost the sale too. I mean, I'm not, it's nothing, there's no, hindsight's always 20/20, but, oftentimes guys, for some reason, they're the macho ones in the conversation, and they want to act like they have more money than they really do. They want to act like but then when push comes to shove, it's like they're really penny pinchers, and they don't know that they want to spend anything. I mean, that just seems to be kind of a, I don't know, a human factor for a lot of us males. So I would just work on some of the items that we had talked about, implement at the very beginning, going through your expectation in the meeting, get them to buy into the fact that you're going to take an application. I mean, that's kind of a big aspect of it. You don't have to get them to say, yes, we're going to take an application today, but you need to be very firm on, my goal today is, number one, to educate, number two, to understand your need, and number three, if it makes sense, I'm going to help you apply. We're going to take care of the need if it makes sense. Is that fair? If you get them to kind of buy into that in the very beginning, mentally, they're already kind of on the track of that's what's going to happen. So as long as you walk them through those steps, because remember, emotions buy, you got to get the emotion into it. The emotion buys, logic pays for it. And maybe in this situation, you had them connected emotionally, but logically, they just weren't being honest with you. And they really don't have money. And you don't know that. There's nothing you can do to solve that except for go through that process every time and make sure that you're connecting at the very beginning. You're connecting, connecting to their why. You're following the educational process. You're doing the budget. You're, all those processes that you're going through. And 7 times out of 10, you're going to sell them. I mean, it's just, and learn from some of these situations. It sounds like if you would have focused a couple things focused on them, you might have been able to turn it, but hey, you may not have been able to.
Yeah. Okay. It's very helpful. Thank you very much.
Anything else? We've got 10 minutes. This is you guys' time. So anything else that you guys want to talk about as far as challenges you're having, items that we need to address and focus on, things that we can help you with? Anything at all? All right. Well, I don't have anything else. I think that here's my suggestion before we jump off. We'll jump off a little bit early. Here's my suggestion though, guys. Do the team a favor, the agency a favor. I need you guys to encourage other people to get on this call. There are a lot of people. I'm telling you, when you guys start injecting people into the system, one of the biggest struggles you're going to have is mentoring people, because as you get 20, 30, 40, you get a bunch of people in the system, it makes it really difficult to coach and mentor people from a time standpoint. This is designed to have an hour dedicated to dealing with the immediate things that you guys are struggling with. So you really need to encourage the team, encourage people that you've invited into the business. Send out messages on Slack ahead of time. Can't wait to jump on, group mentor session Thursday morning. Send out messages. Get people, encourage people. It's our job to encourage people to be on this call. A lot of people need it. They just don't know that they need it. this can help people close deals, address things that need to be addressed. So, yeah. So without any further ado, I appreciate you guys being on the call. It's 9:00 Central Time is the call every single Thursday morning. I had to remind a couple of people of that. 9:00 Central Standard Time. Central.
Yeah.
Central, Elazar, Daniel. Central Standard Time. And I think that's 10:00 Eastern. Is that right?
Yep. Nope.
You guys are awesome. Appreciate each one of you guys, and don't make too much fun of my my amazing Channel 5 Hollywood experience yesterday or a couple days ago. So
That's my new ringtone of you,
dude. I'm just gonna start saying that we're hacking down agents.
Yeah,
hacking down
agents.
Down. hoping they don't grow back any faster. Just hacking them down. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the Channel 5 news clip that was on Slack. So anyways, God bless, guys. You guys have a great week. I will see you Monday morning early. Finish it out strong. Tomorrow's the last day to upload items for the month of August that will count for your numbers. It looks like we're doing very good on net placed. We're hanging around 80 to 85% net place, which is phenomenal. I think people are a little gun shy of getting things submitted into Opt. But just get items submitted. Tomorrow's the last day by, I believe, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, somewhere around there. The official deadline is midnight Eastern Standard Time, but you always, with Opt being so slow, you always want to focus on 3 to 5 o'clock or so as the good deadline for that. Other than that, message me if you need anything. God bless, guys. You have an awesome day, okay?
God bless. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.